When it comes to Final Fantasy VIII, there's a lot of debate in the fandom, loads of fan theories and preferred outcomes, if you will. But one of the most ludicrous ideas to me is that Squall should have ended up with Quistis and not Rinoa. And honestly, that argument has always struck me as juvenile, shallow, or completely disconnected from the themes of the game. To be clear, if it wasn't already so due not only to the story but the logo, Final Fantasy VIII is Squall and Rinoa's story. Their relationship is the emotional core of the entire game. To dismiss that or to try and shoehorn Quistis in as some kind of better option to appease some fantasy is not only missing the point, it's simply showing that you didn't actually play the game or simply didn't understand the story or its characters. First, let's go straight to Quistis and her part in all this. Yes, Quistis does show early on that she likely has some feelings for Squall in some capacity in the well-known secret area scene, along with casual attempts at flirting prior to that. But later in the game, at Trabia Garden, in the well-known scene where they remember that they were all at the same orphanage in childhood, Quistis realizes then that she may have misunderstood her affection for Squall, as would be the case for a teenage character still learning to understand the intricacies of emotion. She then realizes and openly admits that what she thought was romantic love for Squall was actually a misplaced longing. She was trying to replace alone, and what she really felt for Squall was more sisterly than romantic. The game doesn't leave this ambiguous, yet some fans continue to cling to this fantasy of Squall and Quistis as if it's this better untold love story of Final Fantasy VIII. It's just a misunderstanding early on that's cleared up in the text itself. So to keep shipping Squall and Quistis after that isn't clever headcanon, it's just ignoring the game at this point. Now let's talk about Rinoa. She's arguably one of the most misunderstood heroines in the series, and unfairly so. I honestly never knew there was so much hate for this character until I unfortunately stumbled across the various fandoms across the internet. Look, she was by no means my favorite, but I understood her as a character, as annoying as she was in the beginning. See, a lot of the hate she gets comes from players who only see her as the annoying love interest, or that she's always bumping heads with Squall, or Squall being her rebound for Cypher. But that's just a shallow take on her character. Yes, Rinoa grew up in privilege, she had a sheltered life, the daughter of General Caraway, living in comfort, but she actively rejects that life. She joins the Forest Owls, a resistance group fighting for independence. Sure, she's naive at first, she has big idealistic dreams, she thinks change is simple if you just fight hard enough, but that's what makes her arc so compelling. When the reality of the world hits her, and it does hit her in a massive way, far more than many others in the party, the overwhelming weight of fate, the fear of becoming a sorceress, she's forced to grow up fast. She has to shed the last remnants of that privileged, idealist, bright-eyed worldview and transform into someone capable of standing alongside Squall and dealing with how real things get before them and face it. By the end, Rinoa isn't just the idealistic girl chasing dreams, she's a strong young woman, courageous in the face of her own fear and the understanding the hate or fear society will have for her being a sorceress. Ready to face the harshness of her reality and their world alongside her sorceress knight. This leads me to my next point. What makes Squall and Rinoa fitting for each other? As I mentioned in my previous video for folks that misunderstood Squall, Squall starts out closed off, brooding, unwilling to trust or rely on others. Rinoa, on the other hand, starts out as the opposite, open, idealistic, unguarded, somewhat carefree, but as the story unfolds and they both grow as characters, they balance each other out. Squall learns to open up, to trust, to fight not just for himself, but for someone else. Rinoa learns to temper her idealism, to understand pain, fear, and responsibility, and to face them with courage. Their relationship isn't just a romance tacked onto the plot, it is the plot. It's the beating heart of the game. Without it, the story has no center. To say Squall belongs with Quistis is to miss the entire theme of Final Fantasy VIII. The game isn't about convenient surface-level high school romance, it's about growth, vulnerability, learning to love, and finding strength in connection. Quistis herself admits her attraction was misplaced, and the narrative never circles back to make it more than that. I admit Quistis really could have used more rounding out of her own arc beyond that point, but that's neither here nor there. I think one of the prevailing reasons people cling to the Squall and Quistis shipping is because it fits into their own fantasy, the hot teacher and the brooding student trope. But Final Fantasy VIII is not this cliche. It's smarter than that. It's deeper than that. It's about two flawed young people, Squall and Rinoa, learning to grow together in the face of overwhelming odds. The next time someone tells you Squall belongs with Quistis, remind them. Quistis herself realizes and admits her affection for Squall was more sisterly, more familial. Rinoa isn't just Squall's love interest, she's his equal, his partner, and the key to his growth as a character, and vice versa. Their relationship embodies the central theme of the game, learning to trust, to connect, and to love in a world where their fates are uncertain and their journey perilous. To deny that is to deny the very heart of Final Fantasy VIII. And if your Squall Quistis ship is just personal fantasy, that's fine. Okay, I'm done. Goodbye.